The density times the material derivative is equal to— Roble Santos mouthed as he read the book slumped across his lap. A newspaper across the aisle stole his attention, and he glanced up. Two large hands held the paper amid a row of U.S. airmen. Half the uniformed men and women looked asleep, the other half dazed from the constant droning inside the windowless aircraft. "What is that?" Roble leaned forward, pushing against his shoulder restraints, peering at the photo of a jet on the newspaper. "Its shape is so—" He frowned. "It's probably just some concept art from a movie or something." He sat back, dropping his eyes to his coverless textbook, feeling the airplane vibrate his calloused hands. He tried to concentrate on the Navier-Stokes equation, but it was impossible, with that jet's image prostituting itself across the aisle. Closing the book and wedging it between his seat and his neighbor's, he unhooked his restraints and dropped to his knees. At eye level with the paper, he pushed back his hair and studied the image. The jet's gloss-black fuselage splayed across the page in front of him. Its slender nose cone began a gracious line that followed under a long neck. The line continued back until it met two sensually curved air intakes that stretched into lengthy engine encasements. The jet's tail arched subtly upward, then thrust vertically into a soaring fin with horizontal winglets. Its swept-back wings flared thick and muscled at their bases, but tapered out into dainty tips. Along its top, a sleek, clear canopy extended almost from nose to tail fin, revealing just a hint of the cockpit inside. Roble's chest expanded. "That's the sexiest jet I've ever seen." The image sank toward the aircraft's floor. He followed it down. "Can I help you, Airman?" a hard voice said in his ear. Roble looked up, surprised to be kneeling on the floor, and even more so to be staring at the sergeant holding the paper. Several airmen seated nearby laughed. The sergeant shook his head, frowning. "May I read your paper when you're finished?" Roble asked. He dropped it on Roble. "Put your damn restraints back on." Paper in hand, Roble sat back in his seat, fastened his restraints, and read the headline below the picture. "Supersonic, but at what cost?" His eyes returned to the image. "That Alexa Patra, she's hot." A young airman sitting next to Roble jabbed his finger into the side of the newspaper, his chapped lips cracking a smile. Roble ignored the comment, focusing on the photo of the jet. "Did you catch her wearing that swimsuit in Sportsman Quarterly's charity edition?" the airman asked. "Now that's how you raise money for a good cause. I even read the article, at least the highlighted parts." "Why haven't I seen this jet before?" Roble began to read the editorial. His talkative neighbor slapped his shoulder. "Can you believe she's in charge of saving Nevada's homeless kids? Plus, she's like the commander of her own charity. And get this, they want her to run for governor. Look at her," he said, gawking at the newspaper. "That's the complete package." What's your name?" "Roble." "That's the complete package, Ronald. And I don't care if she's 35. I'm looking her up when we land." Roble folded down the top of the paper and gazed at Miss Patra's picture. "Alexandria Patra taking Nevada's Public-Private Partnership National," splashed across the page above her. He stared at her smiling lips and frowning eyes. She was unusual. And what a day that had been. How long ago was that? He rubbed his chin. Almost 6 years ago. State truancy officers had captured him a few days after running away from the Sands family. Taken to Ms. Patra's state office building, Roble sat in a chair, leaning against her secretary's desk, passing the time by watching a truancy officer munch potato chips and sip a soda the size of his head. The building smelled like the last middle school he'd been forced to attend, the scent of fresh vomit covered with janitorial cat litter. Luckily, they'd expelled him. "She's ready for you," the secretary said. The truancy officer gestured at Miss Patra's door with his soda. Roble rose, took one final glance at the potato chip shrapnel littering the floor, and entered the office. Alexa Patra stood behind her desk, poised like an Egyptian queen.